Welcome to the Derry-Cast, where we discuss all things movies. Let's go straight into the movie news. The first of many Warner Brothers releases going to theaters and HBO Max on the same day has gotten its box office and streaming numbers. Wonder Woman 1984 made $16.7 million in North American theaters and streamed over half of the platform's customers on Christmas Day. The HBO Max platform has 12.6 million active users. It was announced on Sunday because of the big numbers on Christmas Day that Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot will come back for a third film. It was fast-tracked.
In other Warner Brother news, it was announced on Tuesday that Justice League star Ray Fisher, who plays Cyborg, refuses to star in any DC movies unless Warner Brothers fires their current DC film head. The head of DC Films, Walter Hamada, and many other DC film workers have been called out by Fisher for racial microaggressions toward him and others. Fisher has been open since Justice League reshoots on how directors and film executives need to be held accountable for their actions.
Tessa Thompson, during a press interview for Sylvie's Love, which is amazing, by the way, I want to talk about that film one day, on Wednesday confirmed Michael B. Jordan will be directing the third Creed movie. Michael B. Jordan will be following in the footsteps of Sylvester Stallone, who directed many of the Rocky sequels. Creed is a part of the Rocky franchise, and this will be the first film Michael B. Jordan will be directing.
And finally, on our list, discourse and issues arise about Ray's accent on Schitt's Creek, if anyone's seen that show. However, the actor who plays him, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Rizwan Manhaj, I don't know, I'm so sorry, I should have looked this up, I forgot to, wasn't given any direction on how the character should sound, and has no regrets on it. And this is what he said. He said, rather than focusing on the accent, why not focus on why his character didn't have a deeper story? Why didn't they delve more into his character?
Most of the characters on Schitt's Creek are white anyway.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about it.
Yeah, well, at least like the main core characters, they're all white, and they do have like other people of color in the show, but they're not main characters.
Yeah, they don't have depth.
Yeah.
So we actually picked the same movie for our pick of the week.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to be Death to 2020, which is technically a Netflix original movie / special. It is a part of the Black Mirror universe. It was directed by Charlie Booker. We talked about this last week during movie news on the podcast. It's a mockumentary with different fake and real characters, like the Queen of England.
Yeah.
And then there's a new newspaper editor played by Samuel L. Jackson, a tech lord played by Kumail Nanjiani, and a scientist. I didn't write the dude's name. I'm very sorry. It's very star-studded, though.
Yeah.
Hugh Grant's in it.
Mm-hmm.
Lawrence Fishburne is the narrator. Joe Keery.
Yeah, oh my God. I lost it when I saw him on screen.
Just to name a few, there's so many people. It also has real news footage, and it goes into month by month.
Yeah, it's in chronological order.
Yeah.
When I went into it, I actually didn't know it was a comedy.
Okay.
I didn't know I don't know, I just didn't think about whatever genre it was going to be, but I wasn't expecting it to be a comedy. And when we put it on, it said, Netflix Comedy Studios or something like that, and I was like, oh, okay, and then I had a different outlook on it.
Yeah. It's very funny. Mm-hmm. Definitely something that we needed to round out this horrible year, which Happy New Year! Happy New Year's Eve.
Yes, it's New Year's Eve, we're recording this.
Yes. My favorite part, which isn't any part that's kind of eye-opening. It's just the housewife from America who thinks she knows everything because she learned from Facebook.
Yeah.
Those are my mom's friends. How can we fix them? What was your favorite part?
Honestly, that character.
Okay.
I thought that was really funny how they kept showing clips of her just bothering people, and being a Karen.
Yeah, and she's the girl from Palm Springs, which she did so well in Palm Springs as well.
Yeah, I think she's really good range. She's so funny.
Yes. So let's go into our main subject, which is New Year's Eve movies. Happy New Year's Eve, just like we said. We had to talk about New Year's Eve movies to try to forget the world of 2020. We went through lists of New Year's Eve movies and picked ones we wanted to watch or have enjoyed in the past. Let us know in the comments if you think these movies are New Year's Eve movies or just have New Year's Eve scenes. We just want to say the first two movies are also musicals, just like the last episode. Yes, we do like musicals. Would you like to introduce the first movie?
Yeah, the first one that we picked is High School Musical. It's directed by Kenny Ortega. It was released in 2006, and the genre is Disney Channel original movie. That's a genre.
I think so, yeah.
Oh my god. And musical, obviously. So according to Google, the plot summary is, with a plot described by the author and numerous critics as a modern adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, High School Musical is a story about two high school juniors from rival stereotypical cliques. The protagonists are Troy Bolton, played by Zac Efron, a basketball team captain, and Gabriela Montez, played by Vanessa Hudgens, a shy transfer student excelling in math and science. Together they try out for the lead parts in their high school musical, and this causes division among all the students, despite other students' attempts to thwart their dreams. Troy and Gabriella aim to resist peer pressure and rivalry and wish to inspire others along the way, not to stick out to the
status quo.
Stick to the status quo. However, they have to battle high school diva Sharpay Evans, played by Ashley Tisdale, fucking queen. I love her. I met her once. Did I tell you that?
No.
Really? I went to a meet and greet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
wow.
I had her sign her first CD.
Oh wow.
The album. Yeah, and she was like actually really happy to see it. She was so surprised.
That's so cool.
She showed her manager. She was like, "Look, it's the first album." I was so awkward the whole time though. I was like dead silent, and I was like just staring at her with like because I was like, oh my god, it's Maddie. It was really embarrassing. She kept like looking at me, and I was like, and I remember I handed my phone off to like, I don't know if it was like her security guy or whatever, because he's like really tall and he's in all black, but he was like just a skinny white boy. I don't know. He could have been like someone's boyfriend. I don't know. But he was taking the picture for me, and my wallpaper was Dan. You know, Dan is on fire.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, is this your boyfriend?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, he's my boyfriend." And I was with my friend Daniela, and we were like laughing so hard. God. Anyways, I'm so sorry. Okay, back to this. And her twin brother Ryan, played by Lucas Gabriel. Shane and Ryan.
Sharpay.
Shane, goddamn. Sharpay and Ryan both seek to sabotage their friendship and romance between Troy and Gabriella and gain the leads in the school musical.
Okay, so we're going to go into buzz and audience reactions like we usually do. On its premiere, the film was a success with 7.7 million views. However, the reviews were mixed. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a rating of 63%. Had a series of sequels and now a television show on Disney+. Upon its release on January 20th, 2016, it became the most commercially successful Disney Channel original movie, or DCOM, ever produced. And yes, I would like to say, when High School Musical 2 came out, I did have a party. Like,
really?
You know how they did those little, like, this is how you make a High School Musical party. Me and my friend tried to do it.
Aww.
So let's go into our talking points. This movie was our first thought with New Year's movies because of how it starts out with Gabriella and Troy.
Mm-hmm.
New Year's Eve is all about resolutions and changes, and you see that with both of the main characters. With those changes, bringing new characters and storylines, the whole High School Musical series seems like it's more complex than any other Disney Channel original movie. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I mean, like, when you think of sequels for other things, it's like the same exact story, but like they're going into more detail and stuff like that with the other films. It's such an iconic Disney Channel original movie and a staple in our childhood.
Not just that, but I think before Descendants came along, it was the biggest Disney Channel movie to like ever premiere. Like, I don't think before that or even after that there was something. Oh, maybe Camp Rock. But even then, I think High School Musical really is what set the bar. And it's
Camp
like
Rock is the same thing in Camp Rock 1 and 2, kind of. It's like very similar.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of killed it. Like the first one did really good. Honestly, I think it's only because the Jonas Brothers were in it. I feel like if they weren't, it wouldn't have been as big. But Yeah, and this movie honestly really set the bar because it's been referenced so much and like remade so much
Yeah.
afterwards. Yeah.
I mean, all the cast members still get like questions about it during
Mhm.
interviews, and I mean, like, the only cast member that's really doing like anything really big right now is the two main characters, actually, Zac Efron, I almost said Zach Hudgens, and Vanessa Hudgens.
And so is Ashley. She's
Yeah.
just doing, I mean, she's still doing stuff, but like kind of smaller, just like
Yeah.
her sticking to her music and stuff.
Yeah.
She's still out there, which is good.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, I think it sucks, but it's also funny how they can never escape High School Musical.
Yeah.
Like how I said, I went to the meet and greet. The girls behind us actually had High School Musical stuff for her to sign.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't see how she reacted and stuff. I was thinking to myself like, oh, she's probably not gonna like that.
Yeah.
Really. That's why I brought that CD instead of my High School Musical one, like I originally thought of. But
Yeah.
yeah.
What is your favorite part of High School Musical? And do you actually think like it's a New Year's movie, or?
Yes, I think the first one is at least.
Yeah.
And my favorite part, at least growing up, my favorite parts were always any part with Sharpay.
Okay.
She was my favorite character, and like I loved all those like pretty pink, you know, like girly characters and stuff as a kid. I really looked up to that because I wasn't really like that, so I was like obsessed with people who were, you know. Yeah.
Let's go into our second movie. I have a little burp. Sorry. Do you want to go into it?
Yeah, I'll read all this. So our next movie is Rent. It was directed by Chris Columbus, really close to Christopher Columbus. Oh my gosh, I almost said that. It was released in 2005. The genre is musical and drama. The Google plot summary is, in this musical, set at the dawn of the 1990s, a group of New Yorkers struggle. Oh my gosh,
it's okay.
I'm sorry. I need to slow down. New Yorkers struggle with their careers, love lives, and the effects of the AIDS epidemic in their community. Mark, played by Anthony Rapp, an aspiring filmmaker, and Roger, played by Adam Pascal, an HIV-positive musician, scramble for money to pay rent to their landlord and former roommate, Benny, played by Taye Diggs. Meanwhile, their friend Tom, played by Jesse L. Martin, a professor, has fallen for Angel, played by Wilson Germain Heredia, who is slowly dying of AIDS.
This is based off the John Larson musical, which Jonathan Larson died before even seeing Rent on stage, on Broadway, or on stage at all, which I think he should be super proud of. Lin-Manuel Miranda is also doing his directorial like film debut, with another Jonathan Larson musical that he wrote that didn't even see the light of day, and my hubby Andrew Garfield is in it. Rotten Tomatoes gives the film a score of 46% based off reviews from 172 critics, with an average rating of 5.9 out of 10, which I think is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Many actors from the Broadway musical returned, including Anthony Rapp and Idina Menzel. This is an iconic movie and a questionable adaptation of the musical. It is split between a good adaptation and a horrible one. What is your opinion? Are you a Rent fan of the musical or just the movie?
Just the movie.
Okay, because which I thought was ex-stepmom, but really is just still stepmom, loves Rent. So I grew up watching like the bootleg versions and like this version, and I always remember like she said that she hated the movie, like as like a hardcore Rent fan, like it's not, like there's stuff missing and like it's just not the best. But I think I really enjoy it. I mean, I don't have a bad opinion, you know. It also begins on New Year's Day and goes throughout the year. So we could consider it a New Year's movie because it goes through, you know, New Year, it goes through the whole year. The amount of intertwining storylines, the complexity with characters outside of the binary is really cool. I mean, we have lesbians, we have bisexuals, we have trans women, we have just like everything. And of course, the narrator is a white cis man.
Yeah. That's
but
the only thing.
I mean, it's gritty and emotional, and it's educational for people who don't understand. I mean, this was like one of the first times I saw like a drag queen or a trans woman like in film, or like anyone gay in film, and I was like,
What's that?
"Ooh, what's that?" And of course it was Indina Menzel, and I was like, Indina Menzel is a queen. She is a Jewish queen. And I was like, is that me? You know? Like, it was really interesting to see. And what's your opinions on Rent?
I like it.
Okay.
I like the music. That one song is really iconic.
Take Me or Leave Me?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Well, I mean, just because they reference it a lot in like other films, like they even reference it in The Office.
Yeah.
Like it's so random.
Seasons of Love.
That one, yeah,
okay.
that's yeah.
And let's go into our third movie, Carol, which is directed by Todd Haynes, released in 2015. It's a romance drama. The Google plot summary states, Therese Belvian, Rooney Mara, spots the beautiful, elegant Carol, played by Cate Blanchett, perusing the doll displays in a 1950s Manhattan department store. The two women develop a fast bond that becomes a love with complicated consequences. Would you like to go into the Buzz audience reactions?
It was based on the 1952 romance novel The Prince of Salt by Patricia Highsmith. Carol received a 10-minute standing ovation at its Cannes film. Con? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was Cannes. Cannes Film Festival International press screening and premiere. According to Rotten Tomatoes, the film has a 94% rating on reviews from 307 critics, and an average rating of 8.55 out of 10.
The admiration of Carol resulted in a fandom community that has been referred to as the Cult of Carol.
I didn't know that. There's a whole fandom.
There's like a whole like essay about it, which I found very interesting. Are you a part of the Cult of Carol?
No, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a thing.
And also the romance novel, The Price of Salt, after the film was released, it is now called Carol. I forgot to write that down.
Oh, okay.
This is an older gay lesbian love story. Todd Haynes is known for his queer love stories and being a part of the new queer cinema movement. He made films like Velvet Goldmine and Poison. However, this film, like many of his others, cast popular cis and heterosexual actors in gay roles, just like Ewan McGregor in Velvet Goldmine. You know, I had a name drop, Ewan McGregor. This is something we talk regularly about on our podcast. What are your thoughts about it with Carol?
I love Carol. It makes me so sad, and it's so hard to watch. Like the scenes where they get called out for being gay and stuff, and the way that people react to them, and like they're like minding their own business, not doing anything, and like people will just start, like, the moment they suspect, they start calling them out, and it's just so it's so hard to watch. It's like, what does it matter to you? What does it got to do with you? Like, if they're not actually doing anything, but like they're like standing next to each other and they're like calling them names, you know. I hated all those scenes.
But how do you feel about the straight actors in this? Like, because I mean, I watched this a while ago, and it was when like I didn't really have a preference. But now I kind of like, you know, it's hard. And then also, like, it's extra hard for me because it's like, let's add Sarah Paulson, an actual gay woman, as a little side character, as a little spice.
Yeah.
And I don't know why Todd Haynes, who is gay, who is one of the, like, auteurs of the new queer cinema, like, that.
I mean, I'm glad they didn't make Sarah Paulson the star of the movie, because like she's like the token lesbian in Hollywood for right now. Like at least a token older lesbian. So that's good. You know, I'm kind of tired of that. Like there are other lesbians in Hollywood. There really are, or at least like bisexual and pansexual people you could put in. But
this film is considered a New Year's film because it's the first time the two leads kiss and have intercourse. That's a weird word. It is a major moment and what starts the romance in the film. Do you think this is considered a New Year's film?
Yeah, when I watched it, it definitely had that feeling.
Yeah, because it's all like about being a new person
Mm-hmm.
and starting like to be yourself, you know. The movie is very stylized. It looks like a fairy
Yeah.
tale that's set in real life.
Yeah, and it actually looks like it's in the time frame it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
The coloring and the grain they did, really nice. I really liked that.
Yeah.
To me, it was pleasing to the eyes. I really liked it.
It's very pleasing. So for our last movie, and before we start the discussion on this movie, we want to say we don't condone any of Roman Polanski's actions, and we are strictly talking about the movie and the performances and not him. We're going to talk about Rosemary's Baby, which we will talk about later. I don't understand why it's on everybody's list for New Year's movies.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Because, okay, we'll get into our points afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's directed by Grossman, Roman Polanski, released in 1968. It's a horror psychological thriller. The Google plot summary states, a young wife comes to believe that her offspring is not of this world. Wifeish roams Mary Woodhouse, played by Mia Farrow, and her struggling actor husband Guy John Kravitz, he's a great director as well, and he worked with his longtime love on most of his movies, which I think is really cool. Moved to a New York City apartment building with an ominous reputation and odd neighbors, Roman and Minnie Kravitz, played by Sydney Blackmere and Ruth Gordon. When Rosemary becomes pregnant, she becomes increasingly isolated, and the diabolical truth is revealed only after Rosemary gives birth.
Okay, it was based on a book of the same name written by Ira Levin, or Levin.
Very, very Jewish name.
On Rotten Tomatoes, it has, based off of 71 reviews, with an average rating of 8.83 out of 10. In 2014, the film was selected for preservation in the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress. It was deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. And following the film's premiere, a string of other films focusing on Satan worshippers and black magic were produced, including The Brotherhood of Satan, Mark of the Devil, Black Noon, and The Blood on Satan's Claw.
Ooh, those are fancy-ass names. It definitely feels like a romantic drama in the beginning of the film. It doesn't feel like it's a horror or a psychological thriller at all until like halfway through.
Yeah, once it starts to pick up.
Which it took a long time to pick up.
Oh, yeah, it was really slow. It took forever for it to start getting there.
Yeah. It's the same energy of New York City in the 60s as we see in West Side Story. Like, it looks exactly the same, even though they're both kind of like, one is way grittier than the other.
Yeah.
Are the couple even in love?
Yeah.
They seem so awkward together. Like, Mia Farrow and John Kravitz are, like, great actors. But where's your chemistry, honey?
Yeah.
I just want to say trigger warning for anyone who doesn't like blood for, like, the next 10 seconds. The blood looks like paint. Like, anytime there's blood, it looks like red paint. And it looks like dried, like, paint. It's the 60s. It's not the 1800s. It's really slow. Like, where's the plot of the movie in the first half? Do you feel the same way?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I wasn't paying attention enough, but, like, they didn't really, like, mention... I could be wrong, but they weren't really mentioning trying to get pregnant at first, right?
No, they weren't. Not at all. And did anyone notice the characters' names are very similar to, like, Roman and Caveats? Like,
yeah, one of the characters is actually called Roman.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird, and I haven't read the book, so I don't know if they actually changed the names or not. But if you've seen it, please let us know. The scene with her in the bikini is so awkwardly placed, too. There's, like, one little scene where it's just her in a It's like the nightmare sequence.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's just because it's a dream sequence. Of
Yeah.
course, it's not gonna make sense.
Yeah. It's just, to me, it just feels like very, very awkwardly placed because nothing's happening,
Mm-hmm.
in life for her to have a nightmare right then and there. It's the cult of Satan part is very, very thrown on you.
Yeah, like at first they're kind of hinting at something like that, and then all of a sudden it's just like boom, Colt.
Yeah, which is it was very weird because like the first half of the movie you're like, this is kind of boring,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other half is like Colt, like it's just like boom.
Yeah, it gets.
It's not spice, it's the whole thing.
Yeah.
And like before Satan turns into actual Satan, he doesn't look like any Satanist figure like you see in art or like other movies. It looks like a homeless man,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is kind of
because
interesting.
they never show any kind of creatures or any kind of like imagery, scary imagery at all.
Uh-huh.
Like, so essentially this force or whatever that they're like speaking of and they're like hinting at is like faceless. So when they do that, they're kind of building up to something really scary and like some kind of big creature or some kind of monster, and that doesn't happen. So it's just kind of like, oh.
Yeah, like in the 1960s is the scariest thing a homeless man?
Mm-hmm.
No.
And a lot of like the cult stuff and a lot of like the Satan, like it's mentioned, but it's also not, like you kind of have to figure it out and like put the pieces together yourself.
And you kind of have to like know about Satan and like cults and stuff.
And I already knew before going into this, I already knew what it was about and like that it was a cult and like, or something that's coming in and like messing with her and she gets pregnant by the devil. I knew that already. So I already knew that going into the movie. So I feel like if I didn't know that, I wouldn't have quite figured out as much.
Yes.
It would have been hard to keep up. I feel like anyone going into this, like, completely new and not knowing anything, they have no idea what they're going into. And they're going to have a hard time keeping up with it.
And also with Rosemary, like, Mia Farrow's face like, her whole body just keeps getting whiter and whiter. Mm-hmm. When you're sick, that's not usually what happens, Like, you don't get pale to the point where we could barely see you. You're translucent.
Mm-hmm. I just thought the makeup they used, it made her look kind of funny.
Yeah, like, just all the art stuff for, like, makeup and, like acting that they've picked. Not acting, but, like, actors, like, with Satan and with her. It's very oddly, like, picked.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, why are you, like, with Rosemary's character, why are you continuing to listen to everyone on what to do with your body? It's kind of like a whole other subject.
Well, I think she should have cut that off sooner. Yeah. I think she realized that what they're doing, they're fucking with her. They're giving her stuff that's actually making her worse,
but
as opposed to helping her. Well, I mean, no, she did try to. Towards the end of it, she was yelling at him and like trying to get away and everything. But I just think that she waited too long. She was already too deep in there, and like everyone was like in the room when she was like trying to get out. It's like
the baby's like a watermelon now. When it was a cherry, maybe. Like,
well, not just that, but like I said, everyone who's a part of the cult was in the room, so she was being overpowered.
These people either, like, why would you randomly let people just?
Yeah, she was like taking everyone's advice. Everyone she just met, they're like, oh, you should do this, and this, and this, and she was like, okay, that should be best for my baby. Instead of like, I don't know, maybe calling your family and like, because they didn't have internet back then, so they had to get word of mouth. No, yeah. I just mean like learn from word of mouth, but not strangers. And it's like,
you could read books. You were reading books about cults. You could read books about babies.
Yeah.
Also, after she gave birth, like, Guy, played by John Kravitz, looks so demented. Like, you definitely know he did, like, before you definitely know he did something, but like now he's kind of like regretting all of his.
At some point though, the cult got to him.
Yeah.
Before she realized what was going on, you could tell that it had got to him, the way that he was acting and stuff.
Yeah.
He was acting really, really sus and trying to get her to, keep drinking the little juice thing they were making
Yeah.
her.
Also, how would you feel? I don't know why it just popped up in my head. How would you feel if you had like not a sequel, but like a prequel of like how Guy got into all of this and how like this cult happened? That would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, just to learn about the cult, but I mean, we don't need to know about Guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they probably like poisoned him. I mean, not poisoned him, but like gave him something or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I could, because they don't really delve into like what the cult is, and like it's just a Satan group, and that's it.
Yeah.
There's no like I said, there's no imagery.
Backstory.
Yeah, they don't wear cloaks or anything, because the scene that they show with all of them all together, they're all naked.
Yeah.
So we don't even know what their uniform looks like.
And
nothing.
They're all old people too.
Yeah, they're all really old.
Not old people, but like yeah. Why do you? So let's go into it. Why do you think this is a New Year's movie, or do you think it's a New Year's movie?
I don't think it is. It's a scary movie.
Yeah.
Every time it ever gets mentioned, it gets mentioned as a horror film.
Yeah, I don't know why it's on New Year's Eve movie lists.
No, it didn't feel New Year's. It didn't feel like New Year's at all.
Maybe it's like New Year's into 2020 because it was like a hell of a year, but like I don't know why it's on a list of New Year's movies. And all the other films we talked about are clearly like New Year's movies. Don't know why this one is. If you guys know, please let us know.
Yeah.
And so because we're at the end of the episode, we are going to go into our New Year's film watches if we usually have like a little routine. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, so every year I always watch the same movie, not on purpose. Like, I didn't think about this until Emily asked me, but it's Kung Fu Panda. And hear me out before anyone starts judging. I forgot what channel. I think it's FX. For so many years, every year on New Year's, I think it was either New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, but they wouldn't play anything on the channel. They would just play Kung Fu Panda on a loop.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
okay.
because no one wanted to be at the station. I guess they wanted to be at home and stuff, so they would just play the same movie over and over again all day long. And I would watch it with my dad, and every year I'd watch it at least once or twice. And I don't know, just I love that movie, and I never get tired of it. And
it's a great movie, and it has a great cast too.
Oh,
not just Jack Black, but like
Angelina Jolie's in it. Like,
yeah. It's a great movie.
Yeah, I love it. It's so funny.
For me, because I am an Oscar Isaac bitch, and Inside Llewyn Davis is my favorite movie. Every year on New Year's, I usually watch Inside Llewyn Davis, the Criterion version, and then I do the live concert version, and then I do the documentary after. That all comes with the Criterion copy. It's my favorite film this year. However, I have work from opening till closing. So hopefully I could get up earlier, stay up late, and watch one version of it. It's an annual thing that I've been doing for maybe 3 or 4 years. Have you seen any of the films we've talked about? Do you consider them New Year's films?
What do you do on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day? Let us know. Let us know your answers to the questions below on this YouTube page or on our Instagram page, the Derry-Cast.
Thank you so much for listening.
And in case I don't see you, good afternoon,
good evening,
and good night.